This is business today. Fast, unpredictable, always changing. Shifting trends and technologies are pushing aside old rules. The unexpected is the new normal. At Segra, we'll help you navigate a complex future with state-of-the-art voice, internet, and data protection solutions. We know you have dreams, and we see your potential. Segra, freedom to grow.
Mother Nature delayed it by a bit, but we're finally ready for the second meeting of the season between Loudoun United and New York Red Bulls. Two from Segra Field alongside longtime Manchester United goalkeeper Gary Bailey. I'm Joe Malfa, glad to have you with us on ESPN+. The first meeting this year was won 3-0 by Loudoun. This, though, is their thriller from last season, finished 3-3. When these teams meet, Gary, goals are scored by the bunches.
Oh, in this match in particular, Kuda Pietro got the first one there, then Hopkins gets the second, and you're thinking, hang on a sec, Loudoun, how good they look. But one thing about New York Red Bulls too, they keep fighting back. They've got the spirit. This, a penalty, Omar Sow, who, by the way, is moving up the ladder. He got that one, and then there was an equalizer from Archimed, so you're down to 2-2 at this stage. Try keep up, everyone. Samake gets this one, and literally a minute later, Jorgensen down the other end pops up. And 3-3, Joe, was in fact the final score. This goal in the 58th, no goals to follow in the final third of the match.
We'll see tonight if one of the newcomers here for Loudoun, Alex Dexter, can be back in the scoring in his debut, scored against Charleston.
Yeah, vital goal it was against Charlton, that 1-1 draw that stopped a whole run of losses. And the way he took it was so good because he broke into the box, controlled the ball, and then chipped the keeper as the keeper advanced. Great bit of skill there from Alex Dexter.
And look at the full starting 11 for Ryan Martin. A number of players are missing. We'll get to that as the game goes on. There's a reason for that, but here's his 11 tonight.
Yeah, Alex Dexter starts, Jalen Robinson, Abdul Abukura, and Griffin Yao. I haven't seen him for a while. He plays up front. Out go Sammy Kaderi, Rio Hopegund, who's a suspended, got a red card last match, Abdul Zane, and Simonson Leyland.
On the other side for New York Red Bulls too, let's take a look at Wiki Carmona. First start of the season. He has 2 appearances so far on the year as he works back from an injury. Made 15 starts in MLS last year. Might be on the horizon of getting back to that level, but he's got to work his way through the 2 side as well to build up his stamina, build up his minutes again, and get back into the terrific form he achieved last season. And here's the starting 11 for Gary Lewis around Wiki Carmona.
Yeah, 6 changes to the team that drew 2-2 with San Diego Loyal. Kamana's in there. John Murphy comes in. Lamine Conte, Adam Najem, Giannis Nicopolidis in goals for Marcucci. And also going to the bench or out, Jonathan Felipe, Juan Castillo, Jason Pendant, Daniel Edelman, and Caden Clark. So 6 changes for New York Red Bulls, 4 for Loudoun. They've got some depth, and we're going to see some players we haven't seen before. So very excited about that.
A match that was supposed to kick at 7:36, kicks at 8:35 as Jalen Gray blows the whistle, and we're underway in Loudoun. Red Bulls in that black and red from left to right, Loudoun in the white and red from right to left. 5 of the last 6 meetings between these teams have seen at least one of the sides score 3 goals or more.
Yeah, that's an amazing stat when you think about it. I mean, 3 goals is a lot to score in a game, but the fact that they do this almost every time they meet, hopefully they keep to that and we can be assured of a few goals today.
It's part of, I guess, the experience, if you want to call it that, with some of these younger sides. They have that innate ability to be successful offensively, but so much of the defensive ability is a learned trait that comes as the years go along. So they're out there flashing the talents, but it means they're porous at the back, and that's, again, just par for the course for young teams.
It is, but that's what makes this match exciting, is often when these teams come up against the more experienced professional sides in USL, they battle. We can see they're sitting 11th and 13th in the table, and it's like this most seasons because they are younger in general on their way up. But when the 2 of them come face to face, well, But they're very similar, as you say. They're both pretty porous at the back. They both struggle to last for 90 minutes. And they both turn on some wonderful skills at times. So, you know, strap yourself in. Hopefully we're going to be treated to something really enjoyable tonight.
Mentioned that a handful of the Loudoun regulars are not playing tonight. DC United had a match against a Guatemalan side in a friendly in the Capital Cup yesterday, which Ryan Martin was actually the coach for. And you had 6 players who were regulars for Loudoun who suited up in that one, so not available tonight. And a look at the Country Buick keys to the game. What do you got for us, Gary?
Well, for Loudoun, break through the New York Red Bulls press. Red Bulls known for high pressing and quick pressing. And of course, when they do that, they push their wingbacks up. You can find space behind those wingbacks. For Red Bulls play to the final whistle, they have conceded a ton of goals in the last 10 minutes and been more clinical around the box.
Carmona trying to orchestrate something around the box. 25 appearances, 15 starts in MLS last year with a goal and an assist. And this one's deflected out for a corner kick. Levante Mullings getting far up the right side. He's one of the players that were brought in this past offseason and converted to a different position for New York. He was an attacking midfielder, sometimes a striker collegiately. They bring him in and they move him outside back, wanting to have very active outside backs. A 4, you'll see the same thing on the other side. It's just part of the Red Bull staple from the MLS on down. All the way through the academy, playing that same system. Gerhard Struber, the coach of the MLS side, always in close conversation with Gary Lewis, the head coach here at Red Bulls 2, and they felt the switch was in the cards for a player like Mullings, and he's proven that it's been the right call. He's been a standout and a staple at right back.
Just looking at Samudio in goals, very good young keeper. Has signed a contract with the first team. A handful of players who've been able to do that from last year's New York Red Bulls 2 side. So I've been very impressed with him. And speaking to Ryan Martin, he says that he's a player for the future, a player who likes to lead from the back.
Nico Politis in goal today on the Red Bulls side, as opposed to A.J. Marcucci, who we're so used to seeing back there. This one played through something on, perhaps, but Zamudio clears. It was there for John Murphy. Step too slow. Nico Politis making just his 4th start on the year. Marcucci has made 9. And Marcucci just became the 2nd player in New York Red Bulls 2 history to eclipse the 100 save mark in the last match against San Diego. But Nico Politis in tonight. Only 4 goals allowed in his first 3 starts. Those two drafted in back-to-back years. Marcucci in 2021. Nico Politis, the 71st pick in 2022 out of Georgetown. Here's Griffin Yao, just wide. Reminding us of what he could do here at Loudoun.
What a good player he was. I saw him a couple of times. Not so much last year. I think it was the year before. He was a real feature for Loudoun United, and excited about his prospects. And looking at him now, he's still only 19 years of age. Obviously coming through the system as they do so young at 17, but he hits that and he hits it well. Good power. It's not far away from that top corner. Just goes wide to the right of the post.
Griffin Yao last year only made 1 appearance here with Loudoun. This year has already made 1 start in that match against Memphis. He made 15 appearances back in 2019. He's become a regular on the roster with DC United, 36 appearances already in his young MLS career. As you mentioned, Gary, at 19 years of age, feels like he's been around forever, but his best days are still probably far away. Not even 5 years away from his prime. He's got a long way to go.
Absolutely. He's not the only one. If you look at Loudoun, they've got Jacob Green at 19. They've got Abdel Abukura at 17. And then you go to the bench. Now, we might see a few of these players in the second half, but there's 2 15-year-olds and a 16-year-old. So, you know, we could be looking at one of the stars of the future in American football.
Here's Murphy. Comes over from Union Omaha, where he made a few appearances last year for the USL League One champions. Slotted through from Mullings, back to Murphy. That one might have been earmarked for the far post, but cleared away.
Good move, wasn't it, on that right-hand side? And John Murphy in a good position to receive the ball, but it's incisive. It's in the box. It's in the danger area. Have a look at the passing here. Accurate. Najem just gets his head up. It's a lovely little ball through. And Mullings pulling it back. Good play all round. A little bit frustrating there for John Murphy. He couldn't find the target.
Corner taken short to Raffanello and put into the middle. Still loose and now finally cleared. There's Ryan Martin up off his chair, giving out the instructions. In such a unique position, just has to deal with whatever is sent his way. After the managerial change for DC United, it really threw everything on its head for Loudoun. They started the season so strong, and he genuinely believed, and I think a lot of us might have believed, that this would be a playoff contender. They went out and signed so many so-called second chance players that were MLS guys in past years looking for another opportunity, bringing some experience to this Loudoun team. But after that managerial switch with DC United, the new regime comes in, and they wanted their own look at some of these players that have been here at Loudoun. So a number of guys have gone up to the DC United bench, first-team training, have appeared in Open Cup, and it's just completely disrupted the chemistry and cohesion here at the USL level. It's a double-edged sword. Ryan Martin's the first one to say that while it's tough to deal with here in terms of the wins and losses, these are the opportunities you're looking for. You want these players to go on and achieve new heights, and not only does it create the opportunities for his USL guys, but now it creates opportunities for the academy stepping into those spots here in the USL. So there's a good upward effect in terms of the opportunities given, although it makes it very tough on the wins and losses.
It does, and I think you have to give great credit to both Ryan Martin and Gary Lewis for the job they do, because it can't feel good as a coach when you don't win games. We built as soccer players, soccer coaches to win games, and both these managers have to understand, and they do understand, of course, that it's about developing players as well. And I was talking about the youngsters on Loudoun United. I mean, look at Curtis Safori for New York Red Bulls, 16 years of age. Sam Williams, who scored in the last match against San Diego, just 17. And Wiki Carmona, our featured player beforehand, 19. So, youngsters all around, and they need to learn. And as a coach, you're there to teach them. And I think you're firstly a teacher, almost, and secondly a coach.
One of the examples that Ryan Martin gave as it pertained to the Hartford match this year for Loudoun, going into that, they felt it was a good opportunity for a win. They had a really strong first half, and they felt they were in a position to go ahead and win. But he knew that Sammy Gadiri and Rio Hope Gund were on the radar to start in the upcoming U.S. Open Cup match, so he had to pull them off at halftime, and it completely changed the dynamic of the second half. So that's kind of the pickle he's been in. As the flag goes up once again.
And again, just to make the point that you made a few minutes ago, the constant change in players not available for various reasons, means you don't get a regular lineup. Some of the other sort of teams in USL can feature almost the same teams week in and week out.
Mullings toward Carmona. Mullings very active up this right side in the first 10 minutes of the match. And that's how they want it to be, this New York Red Bulls signature press.
As we were saying in the keys, all the time that Mullins is pushing forward, he's leaving big gaps at the back. And this is the sort of chess match you're playing. Is if you're allowed inside, yes, you've got them coming at you down the flanks, such as Mullings. The moment you get the ball, you're looking into the space that Mullings has left to say, can we benefit from that? So it's an interesting game tactically, these different styles. And for the players, it's a way to learn how to find the weakness in your opponent.
Here's Griffin Yao. Gets it by Murphy, still Yao, taking the space. Yao punched over the bar by Nico Politis. He took that about 60 yards by himself and almost finished with a flourish.
Decent save from the goalkeeper. He had time to get there, but he puts it away from danger, and that's what you're paid to do. But you're right, Griffin Yao out wide on the left here. That's why we've been so excited about this young man over the years. Keeps going, hits a decent shot. Goalkeeper's got to take 2 steps, but it's what he does when he gets there, the keeper. He's got to make sure it gets away from danger, either over the crossbar, which he picks, or away from any oncoming forwards.
It's already 2 times now in 11 minutes that Griffin Yao has nearly scored from distance. Now he'll serve the corner. And it's dealt with well by New York. Adebayo Smith Has some help, takes it himself, and it's another save on the other end from Zamudio. Goalkeepers dueling with big stops.
Good save from Zamudio. I can almost do a carbon copy explanation, because same thing. Had to move his feet, had to get his hands in, he had to push it away from danger. A little bit surprised here. It's one-on-one at the back. You can't allow yourself in that situation. You've got Nicky Downs, who's more of a midfielder back there doing duties, and could be very careful not to leave one-on-one at the back, especially with Adebayo Smith there. He's very good at either shooting with right foot or left foot, as we saw in one of the recent matches. Tucked it in the corner from a very tight angle with his left foot. That was the match against Birmingham Legion.
Corner dealt with by Loudoun.
Good clear, good clear.
Adebayo Smith hoping to get back on track and leave last game behind him tonight. That game against San Diego, he had a golden opportunity to put that game away at 2-1 after they had just conceded in New York. Just moments later had a chance to restore the 2-goal lead. And he touched it past the keeper. Instead of hitting it first time, just never picked his head up to realize it was an open goal, took an extra touch, and then the space was closed down. And that's, again, just one of those moments that the players wish they had back, as Gary Lewis put it, from last game. There were a number of those moments last game. It turned out to be a draw, 2-2 against San Diego. And just signs of a young team. All those little moments here and there that they wish they had back that could have and probably should have turned into 3 points for them. None more glaring than that Adebayo Smith miss.
Yep, exactly that. That was the one side of it. And then conceding in the 88th minute. Among got his and San Diego Loyal's second. And once again, it's those goals in the dying moments that have plagued New York Red Bulls of late. And if I just give you some of them, San Diego, they dropped 2 points in the 88th minute. They were leading and held to a draw. Birmingham, they lost in the 81st minute. Hartford in the 93rd minute. And Sacramento Republic in the 88th. All points lost. So, you know, those last 10 minutes have been absolutely crucial. And Gary Lewis saying, I've got to get these players to play right through to the end. And clearly that's when you're gassed, it's when you're tired, it's when your brain maybe stops working at the same pace. But it's something these young players have to learn how to manage those last 10 minutes.
They've been right there in so many of the games this season. You look at past years maybe for this team or some other MLS2 sides, and there are just some games where they get bludgeoned. But that's not the case with Red Bull. They've been, aside from 1 or 2 results, they've been right there within a goal until the very end of most of their matches this season, with a chance to take 1 or 3 points from it. And the analogy that Gary Lewis used in a chat with us, which was, I thought, a terrific analogy for the young players of today. He said, don't let your Wi-Fi turn off. Don't go offline. Don't lose your Wi-Fi. Don't lose your connection to the match. Once that connection is lost for a few moments, you don't know what's going to happen, and you're probably going to get hurt.
Well, talking of getting hurt, a little moment's break here while we deal with this injury. We were talking about games they've lost 1-0. They lost to RGV by 1 goal, to Sacramento Republic by 1 goal, to Hartford Athletic by 1 goal, to Birmingham Legion by 1 goal. So you're right, 100% right. They've been in all those games, but it's that killer instinct that's missing from young players often. You know, it's that killer instinct to hold on to a lead, as we see Gary Lewis just watching what's going on. And it's the killer instinct to get back in a game when you're down.
And a handful of those 2-goal defeats as well. It was a 1-goal game until the last quarter of an hour, and then they just concede that insurance goal as they're pushing for the equalizer. So they've given a lot of teams fits. The results haven't been there, but it's a young team where the main measure is development rather than the wins and the losses.
Sam Williams coming off there was his own player, Lamine Conte, hit him on the back of the head. It's bad enough when you get hurt by the opposition, but it's one of your own players, you've got no one to turn and be angry at.
You can still turn around and be angry at him.
I guess you can.
Quarter of an hour gone with Gary Bailey. I'm Joe Malfa. Glad to have you with us on ESPN+. We were delayed by an hour, but here we are, the second meeting of the season between Loudoun and New York. First one taken 3-0 by Loudoun.
And it's another aspect of this match, which I think players like to bear in mind, is there's the all-time series, 9 games played, 4 wins, 4 losses and a draw. So it's right down the middle. As players, you watch that and you think, come on, let's win this one. Let's get back ahead of them. So that's a little added excitement to this match.
Played forward for Adebayo Smith. Shoots it early. Might have taken a deflection from Vom Steeg, and it did, out for a corner. We said there might be goals in this game. We haven't seen one yet, but there have been a number of chances both ways where you get the sense it's building and it's coming, Gary.
He's a good player, Adebayo Smith. Maybe needs to score more. 3 goals in 12 matches. It's not a bad return, but if you want to step up to the MLS side, you need to be a prolific scorer. He's got the physique, and he's strong, and he's good in the air, got right foot and not a bad left foot, as Birmingham Legion found out in that 2-1 loss. But ultimately, needs to score more often.
Fans in full voice behind the goal. As the Gem sends in the corner. A couple of corners now that New York has struggled with on the attack. Williams, as you see, back out onto the field. Played through for Abukora. Off to Yao. Gamble. Gets it on to Azad Liadi. Nobody in the lineup today for Loudoun has more than 1 goal on the season. Their lone multi-goal scorer, Tyler Freeman, scored both of his goals against Red Bull in that first meeting, but not available tonight.
I think if you're talking about conceding goals in the last 10 minutes, when you keep changing the team lineup and you don't know who's on your left and who's on your right, or you don't get time to build up an understanding, that's when you get exposed, when your brain starts to tire, your body's, really running on the sort of the whiff of gas, and you can't think clearly, then you sort of drop into natural responses. And if you're not playing with the same person every week, then that's when you make mistakes. You assume someone next to you can do something and you realize it's actually a different player you've got there. So I think that, again, making an excuse for both sides, but the constant changes that they have to make is what does weaken them, I think, when it comes to getting some consistency and understanding between players.
There's a silver lining in all of those moments when you're dealing with teams like this in Loudoun and New York. Both very young, fresh-faced teams, slowly improving each week. And both of these coaches will be the first to tell you can't just all of a sudden expedite progress because you want to. The players on these teams are going to have to take their lumps, and you just have to hope that they make a mistake once and don't make it again. Learn from it and improve upon it the next time.
Well, talking about that, Cragwell there with the tackle. He got sent off when these two teams met earlier in the season. Got sent off in the 26th minute, and Gary Lewis saying that when you lose a player that early in the game, that's when they just couldn't rearrange themselves, and Loudoun picked them off, beat them by 3-0. Just saw him make a real crunching tackle there, so he's going to have to make sure that he gets the right tackles in at the right time, doesn't give the ref any reason to give him a yellow card.
Abukora has some options centrally toward Liadi. It drifted too much, but Mullings can't handle, and it'll be a corner. And back to that last match, Gary Lewis is the first to admit that he feels he himself cost Red Bulls that match. He switched to a 4-4-1 during that game after they went down to man, and he took a lot of the blame. He said if not for that misstep in the tactic, felt they still could have earned a point from that game. So he was the first to raise his hand and take responsibility. Short on the corner. Gamble flares it in, back post, contact there. Player went flying.
A couple of players went flying. It was hard to see who did what to who. The bottom line was the referee couldn't see anything specific, so play went on. It was a good cross as well because it didn't go much over the heads of a couple of Loudoun players. Keeper couldn't come and fetch it. Nicopolides. So in the end, I think it was a really good quality cross put into the box. It asked questions of defenders, and that's what you want every cross to do.
Here's Carmona. Ricky Carmona looking to turn the corner. on Alex Dexter, and he wins another corner kick. Third time now for New York. First two didn't bear any fruit.
Shoulder to shoulder, not elbow to shoulder.
Raffaello serves it up. Yao wants to break free, but Mullings pokes it away. Griffin Yao, as we mentioned earlier, 15 appearances in 2019 with Loudoun. He scored his first pro goal against Memphis on March 16th, 2019. 3 days later, became the 12th homegrown signing in DC United history. He's featured prominently at the U17 level for the United States, including the 2019 World Cup in Brazil. Not often you'll see him nowadays with Loudoun, but with this MLS international break, and because he didn't feature last night in that friendly for DC, chance to get some minutes tonight. Carmona wants to get it back onto his right foot, lays it off instead, and taken by Downs. Foot race between Liati and Lamine Conte is won by the latter.
That's a timely tackle. The big man was through there, Azad Liati. It was a great tackle to get that ball back to the keeper. A little bit too easy to just knock one out of defense all the length of the pitch and into that space, but that's the space we spoke about, the space behind the wing-backs that's available for Loudoun to have a quick counter-attack.
Turnover from that pressure. Adebayo Smith looking for Murphy, and again, but the run stopped. Murphy raised his palms to the sky after the first ball didn't make it through. Instead of continuing his run, had he continued, he might have been there.
A difficult one to know what to do. Once he thought the ball was lost, he's probably thinking defense. And just wonder, as that ball comes to Adebayo Smith, where he couldn't have seen where Murphy was and played the ball to him. Easy to say from the sideline.
There's a push in the back.
Here's the gem, whose career has come full circle in a way. Started in Red Bulls Academy from 2006 to 2013 before his college days and his pro days took him elsewhere. 2 years with Philadelphia, 1 year with Memphis, a year with Tampa Bay, and last year spent north of the border in the Canadian Premier League. And now, in the last couple of weeks, signed a 30-day contract with Red Bulls 2. Back where it all began. First time playing professionally in the organization where he had all of his academy days. Raffaello has a hit. Zamudio, no problem with it.
It's a decent shot from a long way out. You would expect Zamudio to deal with it, which he does. But nothing wrong with having a strike from that far out by Raffaello, who has been one of the pick of the players you would think for Red Bulls, 2 goals and an assist. But generally when you watch him, he's a creative player, clever player. He got the assist for the Sam Williams goal in the last match against San Diego.
He is actually second in the league, Raffaello, with 2 goals from outside the box this season. So he's not afraid to shoot from wherever.
Quality striker of the ball.
Let's go, Greeny.
Jacob Green still battling for it. Green comes away with it, but touched it too far out in front. Nico Politis is there.
I was just looking at Loudoun and going back to that last match, a match in which they got a draw against Charleston Battery after a run of defeats. I think it was 8 defeats in a row, so it was a most welcome draw, but they were winning it until the last kick of the match. 95th minute, corner comes in, goes up. Zamudio, the keeper, goes to it, and it was the other goalkeeper, the Battery goalkeeper, Kaminsky, who out-jumps him and heads it into the net, and a real blow for Loudoun. And afterwards, Ryan Martin saying that he felt that, again, they'd just been a little bit too soft at times.
Gamble picks out Dexter and wins a corner. Seems like whenever anything weird happens for goalkeepers in USL, it's Kuzminski involved. Last year, he had that week where he had the penalty save and the assist, so he was named Player of the Week. This year, he scores the goal.
He's a character, Kuzminski. We're just looking back to that Battery match. Vom Steeg giving a penalty away, tripping up Andrew Booth, and fortunately for Loudoun, Augie Williams missing. So, you know, that mistake, the mistake in the dying moments, those are the ones they have to get rid of.
Yao up to Green. Green delivers it. Not a bad set play there for Loudoun. Downs a secondary ball in, and it just fades away. You talk about Loudoun Red Bulls in terms of the development versus battling the results, and while they want to win, it still stings to not win. Ryan Martin talked about that Charleston game, said it was a prime example of games that sting in terms of the result, but it's a positive in terms of the performance and in terms of what you can learn from it. The red card you mentioned was an example of what not to do. It was silly. There were chances late in the game to take the ball to the corner and kill the clock that they did not capitalize on. Silly mistake to correct for the next time. Then they get caught out on the set piece, napping a little bit for that tying goal. So all little things here or there within what was overall a strong performance that make it sting to not come away with the 3 points, but knowing the bigger picture and all these players wanting to find time with DC United, you can take the positives at least of the performance.
You can. You can if you want to, but it's also very annoying, you know, when your captain gets sent off with 9 minutes of play, Rio Hope Gund, and as you said, he didn't need to get involved. He could have walked away and even played for time and acted injured, which is what coaches expect you to do, and he didn't. He got up and pushed and shoved and got himself sent off. So yeah, learning steps, but at some point you have to learn them. You can't keep repeating them. So for these young players, make the mistake once is fine. Make it a second time and you'll find the coach will be leaving you out the team.
And again, throughout the evening, as we talk about these teams, don't want to make it seem like we're characterizing it as they don't care about winning. They absolutely do. And just a fun anecdote from Gary Lewis. He said he still goes home after a loss and his wife tries to talk to him and he's got a 1,000-yard stare, not knowing what she's saying. It still stings. They still want to win, but they do realize there is something more at stake that they can take solace in, and they're judged by how many guys they send on to the MLS.
Yes, their job they're judged by it, but by the media and those watching,
of course,
you're judged by the results. So it's a tough one to take when you have the runs that both these teams have taken in terms of losses. I mean, Loudoun had 2 wins and a draw to start the year, and you were just saying we were all super excited about them. After that, 8 straight losses before that streak was broken with the recent 1-1 draw against the Battery. And it's been a similar story for New York Red Bulls as well. A whole bunch, 9 losses with a draw in the middle until their last draw. And even the players, as a player, you don't want to lose. You don't want to, you know, when you go out in town, whether it's New York or wherever, you don't want people to say to you, if you won a match, when did you last win? You know, you're proud of what you do. So, but here's an opportunity today for both these sides to try and get themselves a much-needed 3 points.
Still scoreless a half an hour in with Gary Bailey. I'm Joe Malfa. Happy to have you with us on ESPN Plus after an hour delay, and things kicked off in Loudoun County. There's that pressure again from New York, winning the ball high up the field. Raffanello leading the charge. Inside Adebayo. Smith just pushes it wide of the post. Had that gone in, that's one for the teaching tape of how New York wants their press to work.
It's a very, very good press and steal there. Numbers getting forward. If you have a look in the box, you'll see that John Murphy was free. I'm just wondering, Adebayo Smith, could you have kept it going? Murphy all on his own, acres of space. And you actually mentioned Adebayo Smith missing that chance against San Diego Loyal when Loyal just pulled one back at 2-1 because he didn't lift his head. There's another example. I'm not saying it's easy. The ball's coming to him. He's every right to take a shot. But Murphy was in acres of space. If you dummy that, if you just pass it to him, it should, in theory, be a simple finish.
Concern is Grant Lillard now, gathering himself on the ground, making his 10th start of the season tonight. Signed a homegrown deal with Chicago Fire back in 2018. And traded to Inter Miami and then Columbus Crew. And he was one of those second chance players that Ryan Martin and this Loudoun club were excited to bring in. Brought a veteran presence to the team. hoping for that next MLS opportunity.
By the way, a very interesting game 3 games ago away at Detroit City. He had an own goal on the one end and then popped up at the other end towards the end to score. So he had a goal at both ends of the ground. It didn't help though. They lost 4-2 at Detroit City. But sometimes as a defender, you can't get out the way of a hard cross and the ball just hit him and went in. But at least he balanced it by getting a goal at the other end.
And he's back to his feet. Coaches using this as an opportunity to have some words with their players, tweak some things into the final 15 minutes of this first half. That's the one thing that both of these coaches time and again will say about their players. They soak everything up. They're all eager to learn and work on the little things that can help get them to that next level.
As there should be. It's a wonderful opportunity. These are 2 great clubs. And you've got to, you're one step away from being in the MLS. If you're not soaking it up here, where are you going to soak it up? But the problem with it is, it's one thing listening. It's can you put it into action? That's the hardest part of, I guess, any sport. You can all listen to it in theory, but can you go on a pitch like Adebayo Smith? He's had a couple of chances now. Maybe a little bit of lack awareness of where players are around him that could have made a difference. He could have had 2 assists and had the first team manager saying, I want that guy in my team, as opposed to not having scored so far.
Alex Dexter gets it back into play. He just signed a 30-day contract a couple of weeks ago. He scored in his first appearance against Charleston. Standout career at Pittsburgh. 92 collegiate appearances, 22 goals, 22 assists in 4 years. Watch out, Zamudio puts it right off the chest. Adebayo Smith. Might have actually caught him in the face.
Might have done. Now the danger in that, from the goalkeeper's perspective, obviously the biggest danger is the hurt to the player, and we sincerely hope he's going to be okay. The danger from a goalkeeper's point of view, if it hits you square on the head, it might shoot straight in the back of the net. Taking a bit of a risk there. I mean, he turned his head, which is probably a wise thing to do. But had he have kept the head straight on, it might have hit him on the forehead and gone in. Instead, it catches him on the chin like a boxer's just thrown a punch. So good to see him up and about, and brave that he even went for it. But risky from the goalkeeper.
He looks like he wants to get right back out there, but the trainer will just have to make sure he's good first. That's a quick check. And he wants to get right back to midfield and get back into the game. Second season in USL Championship for Adebayo Smith. 25 appearances with 4 goals last year for Tampa Bay Rowdies. Part of that loan swap that sent Jake LaCava to Tampa Bay.
Zamudio, 3 clean sheets in his first 3 games. You can't get better than that as a keeper. Nothing since, so frustrating for him, having had such a great start defensively, this team.
Adebayo Smith is back out there, and he's got a chance to put one away, and he just pushes it wide. Did Zamudio get a little bit of a touch to it?
That's a fantastic chance yet again. Now, I'm going to give him credit firstly for his pace. He leaves the defenders for absolute dead. He brings it down. He does everything right. He's got time to finish it. It's not like the defender's about to tackle him. And then can't beat the goalkeeper. Again, if you're the first team coach watching on, you're thinking, I need someone in that situation to be absolutely clinical. Give Zamudio credit for the save. Adebayo Smith's got to be more clinical.
Jacob Green hoping that one stayed in, but it just fades out of play. 6 shots, 3 on target for New York so far. Just 2 shots, 1 on target for Loudoun.
I was just about to say, I don't think Loudoun are even close compared to what the Red Bulls have been able to do. Once again, he threatens. He's so quick, Adebayo Smith, and the defenders of Loudoun are battling to keep up with him. And, you know, they're away from home, Red Bulls, and they certainly have been the more attacking side, the more inventive. And really, they should be 1, if not 2 goals up by this stage.
You look at the standings and you see where both of these teams are, but then you watch them play each other, and it seems throughout each of the last couple of seasons, whenever these two teams meet against each other, the notch goes up a couple of levels, because they know that down the line they might be competing in MLS against each other, and they want to kind of establish that baseline here. They're kind of in lockstep as the Eastern Conference, 2 sides in the same region. Their MLS clubs are rivals in MLS. Always seems like they're a bit more locked in for these matches against each other. And we're seeing that so far tonight.
I think the other thing is they're not up against players who are that much older than them. It's a similar age sort of profile for both sides, whereas if you take New York Red Bulls up against San Diego Loyal, they were getting bounced around by some of those big guys, and it was very difficult for Red Bull, especially in the second half. They tired very quickly, and that's why there was an 88th minute equalizer.
Here's Abukora on the counter, tries to chip the keeper, and he does! His second professional goal, and it's a beauty.
Fantastic finish from Abdel Abukora. He sees the goalkeeper off the line. He's got to measure that, and he measures it to absolute perfection. Quick counter-attack, and we spoke about New York Red Bulls, how they're great going forward. They throw numbers forward, but they can be caught on the counter-attack. There's space behind the wing-backs, and they utilize that space. Good ball out of defense from Grant Lillard, and there's acres to work in, but it's that skill that catches the goalkeeper off his line. Gianni Nicopolidis, should he have been that far off? Maybe, but he couldn't get back in, and that was the problem. What a good finish there from young Abdel Abukura, 17 years of age.
Making his first start of the season, 3rd appearance overall. Scored his first pro goal against Oakland this year on the road in that 4-1 defeat. And now he's put Loudoun up 1-0. Well, for all the goal scoring we've seen historically between these two teams, I've started to wonder if we'd actually get to halftime 0-0, but might be 1-1 here if Adebayo Smith can latch onto it, but bounces a bit too far out in front.
Well, it just followed you giving all the shots on target and me saying how dominant New York Red Bulls 2 had been.
It's usually how it goes.
Yeah, but that's what Ryan Martin spoke about, and we spoke about it in the keys, the ability to counter-attack into space that Red Bulls leave when they throw bodies forward. You can throw bodies forward, but you've always got to be aware of what you do when you lose the ball, and they were really cruelly exposed there. The other question mark, of course, is Nicopolidis far off his line. Now, when he's got a centre-back dealing with the ball, I think you want to get away from it and onto your line, or back towards your line anyway. So you can't be chipped from that distance. And I just wonder if he could have got back a little bit more quickly.
And you wonder if that's the case. You see Gary Lewis there in the background. If that's one of those instances where, in his words, the Wi-Fi turned off for a second. Just for one moment for New York, all around, let the guard down, and we're hurt by it.
Well, I'm always going to try and defend goalkeepers because, you know, as a keeper myself, part of your job is to be the sweeper. So you want to be on the edge of your box ready to come out. But the moment the ball comes over the top and you think your centre-back is either going to deal with it or has a good chance of dealing with it, you have to backtrack quickly and try and get back to your 6-yard box. Now, once you're on your 6-yard ball, speaking of
careful.
Risks, oh, dear.
And this is going to be an easy tap-in. Disastrous.
Oh, it's been called off, is it?
The offside flag came up, I believe. For what?
That is a huge let-off for Nicopolidis, just as we were explaining how not to give opposition a chance against you. Very lucky young man there.
Let's see. Let's see. So it was played back by New York. It's played back by New York. That's okay. Oh, there's nothing there. That's Loudoun being hard done. He was behind the ball, Liati, when that shot attempt came, and it ricocheted into his path. It should be 2-0.
Tough one there. Tough one for Loudoun. Lucky one for Nicopolides. Again, he was way off his line. As he was saying it, I was saying you don't have to be that far off your line. Even where he is now, just stay slightly inside your box, and if defenders need you, they can knock it back to you.
Can New York capitalize on that bit of fortune? Carmona. The only thing you can chalk that up to is the assistant referee in a bang-bang play thought that the first shot attempt, once it was stopped by Nicopolides, that Liati was ahead of the play when the first shot came. But again, there's no VAR. We have the benefit of replay. The referees do not. Clearly a couple of yards behind. It should be 2-0 Loudoun. Carmona shot deflected.
But as you quite rightly say, you know, in the moment to make that decision, it happened so quickly for the assistant ref to call it. You know, we had to wait until we had slow motion before we could even begin to make a judgment call. So a tough one. No blame on the officials. They've got to call it the way they see it. Loudoun so close to being 2-0 up, and said they don't deserve it.
Carmona trying to make it 1-1.
They don't deserve it, but they would have taken it. When I say they don't deserve it, I mean, I think in the balance of play, you'd probably say at best a 1-1, because Red Bulls have had a whole bunch of chances, especially Adebayo Smith.
So in the grand scheme of things then, to be fair, maybe 1-0 is an appropriate score. At least for the time being.
Ooh, lunging tackle.
Big mental test, though, for both of these young teams. How, with a few minutes remaining in the half, do you respond from a moment like that? Loudoun, how do you kind of compartmentalize that frustration and refocus and try to get it back again? And for New York, can you maybe sense that Loudoun is perhaps a little bit rattled by that and take advantage of it?
I think for Loudoun, you keep doing what they've been doing. Even there, they played the ball into the channels again. That's been their modus operandi for most of the match. You don't defend, and when you get it, knock it wide into spaces and try and get runners in there. And it's worked really well. One goal and one near goal. Having said that, on the other side, Adebayo Smith managed to get free a number of times from the press, overturning ball in dangerous areas. So both tactics have worked in terms of creating chances. The difference, of course, is one chance was taken for Loudoun, and those that came Red Bull's way haven't been taken as yet.
Three minutes of time tacked on at the end of this first half.
The fourth official has indicated there will be a minimum of 3 minutes of added time to the end of the first half. 3 minutes.
Have to give credit to a lot of the fans that stayed through the weather delay, not allowing Mother Nature to put a damper on their evening. They've been in full voice for Loudoun and have been treated to a 1-0 lead. Abukora, the goal scorer, on that brilliant chip back in the 38th minute.
Yep. In fact, the more I think about it, what a good chip it was. I mean, you have to get it over keeper, under the crossbar, between the posts, you know, all those things, and you've got someone chasing you, snapping at your heels at the same time. Really brilliant finish.
Raffanello springs Ofori. Ofori into Carmona. Cuts it inside. Carmona back for Ofori. Good tackle put in by Green. Now Ofori is out of position if Loudoun can attack down that right side. Liati leaves it, but Bokora couldn't bring it down. Raffanello gives to Murphy. Play on, says Jalen Gray. Player down on the far side of the field. Back behind the play for New York. Yao still giving chase. Forces Nico Politis to chip it on to Cragwell. Alex Dexter wins it.
Seems like he hurt himself in the process, Alex Dexter, as he fell. I don't know if he caught the heel of Mullins' boot. Mullins knocked the ball past and thought he had the strength to get past Dexter. Have a look at it again. As Dexter goes down, does something happen there? I thought maybe his boot came over the top, but didn't see any contact. Oh, it's been an inventive first half. There's been chances both ends. I don't think anybody watching can't say that both teams have put in a good shift, been creative, given their strikers a chance to score a few goals. And we've had the one goal, nearly a second. Very, very close ruling for offside. So we thought at the beginning there'd be goals in this match. At least 3. We're on track. And the reason we say 3, in case you didn't hear at the beginning, was every game they have played bar 1, I think.
5 of the last 6.
5 of the last 6 have had 3 goals or more.
3 goals or more for one of the teams.
Which is impressive.
So we're not talking 2-1. We're talking one of the 2 teams at least getting to 3 or more. And in that one match last year, both teams getting to 3 in that 3-3 draw. Maybe the last attack here of the half. Adebayo Smith still with it. Adebayo Smith looking for some help in the box. Finds it again. Unable to get it through to Carmona.
And Joe, it's another example of a ball played into Adebayo Smith where he's one-on-one with a defender. It's happened time and time again.
Giveaway by Cragwell. Does well to win it back. Yao giving chase. Nico Politis was slow off the line. It was Yao who touched it first, and then Nico Politis grabbed it. Wild ending to the first half.
Well done, the goalkeeper, because, I agree with you. He was a bit slow, but then he didn't do anything silly, didn't give away a penalty, waited and pounced on the loose ball. But just to finish my thought, again, one ball through to Adebayo Smith. He's one-on-one. You always have 2 centre-backs, one going for the ball, one defending. Time and time again, they've been caught at the back, Loudoun, with a one-on-one situation. They're lucky not to have conceded.
They conceded once, New York, in that first half. It was Abukora all the way back in the 38th minute on that brilliant chip of Nico Politis. End-to-end action, chances for both teams. Probably have more goals on the way if the history between these 2 teams is any indication. So stick with us here on ESPN Plus. More to come from Leesburg.
This is business today. Fast, unpredictable, always changing. Shifting trends and technologies are pushing aside old rules. The unexpected is the new normal. At Segra, we'll help you navigate a complex future with state-of-the-art voice, internet, and data protection solutions. We know you have dreams, and we see your potential. Segra, freedom to grow.
45 done between Loudoun and New York. Plenty to go tonight and plenty to go this season as we take a look at the upcoming schedule for both teams, beginning with the home side of Loudoun, trying to push forward into the summer, tiptoeing the line still between players being sent up to MLS, academy call-ups into Loudoun. A lot of moving parts, but they have some games on their schedule where they could pick up points. Atlanta, Tulsa are two that stick out.
Yeah, those are the good ones. Phoenix Rising could be tricky. Away at Orange County, who are desperate for points as the champions, but struggling in the Western Conference. And Tampa Bay Rowdies, well, good luck with that one.
You never know. This New York team did draw against Tampa Bay, so why not Loudoun as well? And here's the upcoming schedule for Red Bulls 2. Coming off of that draw last week against San Diego, you know on their day they can hang with just about anybody, and they're going to have to tap into some of their top form because look at that. After Tulsa, El Paso, Pittsburgh, Louisville, Indy, not a forgiving schedule at all.
Yeah, Pittsburgh's going to be tough. Away at Lou City, very, very difficult. But they've got 3 of those at home, and they do seem to be more comfortable on their home pitch.
And our player spotlight brought to you by Segra for Loudoun United is Tyler Freeman. Not available tonight, but he's been one of their bright spots all season long, and an insight a bit to the player off the field. Jack Grealish, his favorite.
Yeah.
I don't know what a
nice
Pizookie
choice.
is, but
I was going to ask you what that was. I was about to ask you. I know where Ibiza is because we used to go there in Spain.
there you go.
You don't know what a Pizookie
I have
is?
not a clue. It seems like a young man's thing, but it even escapes my mind.
But by the way, pity he's not playing because he scored 2 when they won 3-0 earlier in the season. Took them very well.
And the Pizookie apparently is what fuels bright young stars because Tyler Freeman has been doing a heck of a job this season for Loudoun United. And we're back in just a moment with the second 45.
We all have goals. But let's be honest. Most of us aren't going to be professional athletes. But if your goal is to finish your degree, we can help. Come to a university that puts your goals first. Bellevue University, your partner in finishing goals.
I'm on a routine. I'm on a routine.
In the making, a dream start for City. Maxi Rodriguez, what a stop by Steinwasser. And it's into the back of the net. El Paso,
Far corner and it's in! What a goal! Are you watching Football Americas?
Chris and Evelyn, a round of applause.
Back here at Segra Field in Gary, I've been informed as to what a Pizookie is in our bewilderment from a few moments ago. It is a cookie in a cast iron skillet in the shape of a pizza. So Tyler Freeman's favorite food is not one that a professional athlete should probably be eating all that often. But we digress. Let's take a look around USL Championship with some news and notes. Forever proud, visit that link to learn more here in Pride Month. Memphis 901, 5-match winning streak going into tonight's match, which I don't believe has kicked off yet I believe they're still in a weather delay at last glance, but they are top of the table in the Eastern Conference, and you got that battle going on between Colorado Springs and San Antonio. As we take a look at the upcoming schedule around USL Championship, anything stick out to you in particular from these next few?
Yeah, Charleston Battery, bottom in the East. Would you have believed that in Mike Anhauser's days? And they're going to host Pittsburgh Riverhounds. So let's see if they can get back on the winning trail. Loudoun are away at Atlanta United 2, another 2 sides. So a chance to possibly pick up points there. Detroit City, I tell you what, Sac Republic are going to have a real battle. I think every team that goes to Detroit has a battle. So look forward to seeing that match as well.
As we take a look at the scoreboard now around USL Championship, I was correct. It's still a weather delay between Memphis and Birmingham, and Miami Indy 11 also in a weather delay. This game kicked off late, so Mother Nature not too kind for the 3 matches on schedule tonight around USL Championship. But a look back at some of the bigger results from the weekend. Tampa Bay 1-0 over Louisville, and probably the biggest result of the weekend.
Yes, they played very well, Tampa Bay. Louisville struggled to make opportunities, and Tampa Bay saw that one out. So they're climbing back up the table, Tampa Bay, as expected.
So while you have some of the other matches in weather delays, and this one began with one, seems like we'll be in the clear the rest of the way here for the next 45 between Loudoun and New York. It's 1-0 to the home side. We're back with half number 2 in just a few moments.
This is business today. Fast, unpredictable, always changing. Shifting trends and technologies are pushing aside old rules. The unexpected is the new normal. At Segra, we'll help you navigate a complex future with state-of-the-art voice, internet, and data protection solutions. We know you have dreams, and we see your potential. Segra, freedom to grow.
I don't know, Gary, with the weather delay here, we might be very close to some bedtimes at Segra Field, but the kids are still out enjoying this one. Loudoun with the 1-0 lead through 45. Let's take a look back at those first half highlights, and there was a beautiful goal to get to in the 38th minute.
And there was highlights on both ends, mostly for New York Red Bulls too. They were getting turnover ball in dangerous situation. There was one chance early on. Griffin Yao gets on the ball here on the left-hand side. He's going to cut inside. He keeps going. He gets about 25 yards out. Then he hits a really good strike, which Nicopolidis does well just to palm away over the crossbar. But that, until the goal, that was really about all that I can think of that Loudoun were able to do on the front foot. Other than that, it was pretty much New York Red Bulls attacking. Having said that, maybe there is a chance. Let's have a look. Or is this a turnover? Yeah, this is turnover ball, I was going to say. Adebayo Smith, now he's one-on-one, which he did so many times first half. No backup there, and it was a midfielder, Nicky Downs, who's having to get back. Fantastic save there from Luis Zamudio.
And this is the first of 2 instances in this half where he maybe was better suited passing it off. Wiki Carmona wide open for perhaps a wide open opportunity on the right side of the box. And later in the half, might see it here again, where he could have dummied it through to an open Murphy. and had his teammate tap it in this one, though. Another breakaway, and it's saved by Zamudio.
Very good save by Zamudio. One ball through the middle, and he's away at Abayo Smith, and they shouldn't allow it. So time and time again, and he had chances and wasn't able to take them. And if you don't take chances, you can get punished. This long ball out again, pretty poor defending now. What a chip this is! Absolutely brilliant from Abdel Abukara. Goalkeeper way off his line, Nicopolides, and he just sees him and thinks, I can do you from here, and he does him perfectly. Brilliant, brilliant, but that's just too easy a counter-attack, and both sides guilty of being counter-attacked and leaving not enough at the back to deal with it.
You know, I hadn't realized it live, but that was actually his first touch. He didn't even take a touch there on that one, Abukara. He just lined it up and went right for it and converted it. Look at the stats from half number one. Probably what we expected. It seemed like Red Bulls had more chances, and the stats prove that out.
Yeah, they certainly did have more chances. Expected goal for Red Bulls is 0.82, so they really should have a goal on the charts. For Loudoun, only 0.31, but when their chance came, they took it brilliantly. By the way, that pass from Grant Lillard to Abukara, got to give him credit for that wonderful pass.
We will have some changes on the way to begin half number two. Jonathan Felipe into the match for Wiki Carmona. Mentioned that we might see Carmona at some point leave the match in the early stages of the second half. He's working his way back from injury. Made 25 appearances, 15 starts last year in MLS, but on the mend right now. So probably closely monitoring his minutes. Presumably a pre-planned substitution there with Carmona as they try to get him back up to full speed. Had 2 appearances and now a start for Red Bulls.
Get up, get loud for your Loudoun United!
A change on the other side as well. Jace Clark into the match for Grant Lillard. We bring on the 17-year-old center back.
I wonder if that's just to bring some pace in defense.
Ready to go in half number two. Red Bulls from right to left, and Loudoun in the white from left to right. Don't want to speculate, of course, but if you remember last couple of moments of that first half, Lillard did go down in the box and had to come off the field for a moment. So you wonder if that was a substitution necessitated by some sort of tweak.
Oh, you're good.
All substitutions brought to you by Segra. But hopefully, to your point, it's just a tactical decision and no issues for Grant Lillard.
Exiting the match, number 19.
Could be the one thing they... Oh, it's a late tackle. That you're going to be careful. You might get a yellow card for that. Yep. Just the way we have to tackle these days, you can't afford to catch players from behind. Curtis Afore.
Jonathan Felipe.
And he's still learning. He's still a young kid. He's 16 years of age, so no real criticism. He's enthusiastic. He's got to pick his battles, and if you're coming in, have a look at it here. From behind, you can't do that from behind. You're always going to run the risk of getting a card.
Clark, another one of those DC United Academy players who, with all of these players for Loudoun, as we talked about at length in the first half, that have been in the mix with DC United after their managerial change, it opens the door for a lot of these academy players like Clark to step in and get valuable minutes now in USL. So another case of that here tonight for Ryan Martin.
2 yellow card issued in the 46th minute to number 60, Curtis Afore.
Here's Raffanello. Over to Murphy. Seems like with that switch of Felipe coming in, that Raffanello will be more central in that number 10 role with Felipe on the left side. Such a creative player, Raffanello.
Felipe dangerous as well. He had the assist for Caden Clark for the opening goal against San Diego Loyal in their last match. And you do get the sense that Gary Lewis would have gone in at halftime and said, guys, we could easily have been 2 or 3-1 up. But you could also have been 2 goals down. So, you know, take the luck, get tighter at the back, and take your chances when they come. It's probably the talk he's given many, many times. Because when you're dealing with young players, it is the same topic over and over. Now, I think the referee's saying that was your final warning. It doesn't matter. I know what he's saying. He's being pulled, but you can't react because you're on a yellow. You know, it's not a court of law. No one's going to sit and give a judgment. You know, you could be so careful. But he's a young man, like I say, 16 years of age, a lot to learn.
Nico Politis has been adventurous tonight, and diving header away to the list of things he's done.
A goalkeeper's job is not necessarily to be adventurous. That's the whole problem. You're meant to be solid, dependable, reliable.
Dexter plays it along for Nicky Downs. Back for Dexter. Nico Politis, the beneficiary of that offside call. That probably should not have been when he misplayed it in the first half, and could have been 2-0 just moments after that first goal was scored. You wonder if Gary Lewis leaves Ofori in the match and use it as a moment to learn to be careful. Here we go again with Nico Politis. I wonder if he uses the rest of this game as a teaching moment to be careful playing with the yellow card, or if he yanks him just to be on the safe side and not go down a man like they did in the first meeting between these two teams, which turned out to that 3-0 Loudoun victory. Can't afford to go down a man, but it's an interesting one. Again, it's a teachable moment. Be careful for the next 20, 30 minutes, or you take him off.
Well, he's been booked in his last 2 matches that he's played as well. This is his 3rd booking in a row, and he got booked against San Diego Loyal. He was only on the pitch for 8 minutes. So, you know, when it becomes a repeatable offense, that's when you've got to sit him down and have a little chat. I'm sure he's all fired up and wants to play well, and he's desperate to, you know, move up the table and play at a higher level. But all the time, you've got to be aware of what's going on. Another yellow.
This one to Williams.
Another young player.
Yellow card brought to you by Segra. And for Ofori, he's one of the players in this Red Bull side that's in the mix with the youth national teams for the United States, has been in with the U15s and the U17s. Youngest signing in New York Red Bulls 2 history, 15 years, 122 days old at the time.
Wow.
So he's a very bright young talent for this club.
Just seeing Sam Williams get booked there. He's, of the 25 youngest players, he's 2nd on the number of appearances, just behind Joshua Winder of Lou City. So he's been playing a lot, Sam Williams. Very, very impressed with his ability. And in fact, Gary Lewis picking him out, along with a player on the bench we might see, Ilya Turkus, the 2 youngest goal scorers in the USL this year. Wonderful to see them both on the pitch at the same time.
I believe that's Levante Mullings receiving the attention. You mentioned Josh Winder. He's one of a handful of USL Championship players in with the U19 team for the United States. And he actually captained that side to a victory over England the other day.
Wow, that's a good result.
Correde Osandina, Kobe Henry of Orange County, some of the other names from USL on that roster.
You do get the sense that US football is really beginning to climb quickly up in the world charts, and very impressed with the structures, with the USL, the level of football we get to see on a regular basis. It's comparable, you would think, with most European second leagues.
And it seems like a lot of those leagues, whether MLS domestically or other leagues around the world, are starting to take notice and starting to dip into USL on the purchase of players. Diego Luna from El Paso, just bought by Real Salt Lake last week. That's why this is the juncture of the season. We really see the best teams separate themselves from the rest as the touch is taken and the shot is blasted away from the frame by Jonathan Felipe. You look at El Paso in the Western Conference and the run they've been on of late after starting the season very slow. Now they lose Luna because they sell him. You wonder some of the other teams around the league, who they might sell, who they might bring in. These next 4 to 6 weeks are going to dictate the way the playoff rankings might look once we get into the fall.
We had that with Colorado Springs Switchbacks last year with Michi Galini.
Absolutely.
Galino, once he left for LAFC, their whole season seemed to come to an end.
Forey this time draws the foul.
Does well to draw the foul, just gets his body between ball and Jacob Green. And that's how I think it's amazing for a player of this age. You see how he does here, just waits for the contact, down he goes. So at 16 years of age, developed some very, very clever skills. Let's hope those skills apply to not getting a yellow card, a second yellow card.
Felipe loses the aerial against Jace Clark. And the flag up on Liotti.
Liotti just turned and kicked the ball away. You've got to be careful. You can't do that either. I think he's getting a warning from the referee.
Not a warning.
Oh, he's
a
getting a yellow card. You see, those are things that a player should know better. If you watch enough football, you know you can't do that. Even if you feel like doing it, you can't actually do it. Now, he's only got to mistime a tackle, get sent off, and he's going to find his coach, Ryan Martin, sitting him down after this game saying, let me teach you something. Ryan Martin's arguing the case, saying it's the first time he's done it, or maybe it's too harsh. It is a little bit harsh, but those are the rules. As a player, you mustn't give referees a chance to book you.
Seems like the case Ryan Martin is making, that Red Bulls have done that a couple of times themselves throughout the game, so why now for the first time did Loudoun get booked? Some trouble he's having with the consistency. It's a fair argument.
Absolutely. If that is the case, then absolutely it is a fair argument.
And now Downs call for the foul. Red Bull want to take it quickly. One of the more veteran players on the team, and Jalen Robinson, the 28-year-old, wisely stands over it.
Yeah, one of those players that these two teams have just to sort of teach the others, part of their job, not just to play the game, but to spread around knowledge and watch the young players in the build-up to the game and after the game to see how they can help with all their years of experience in the game.
Raffanello goes for goal. Ambitious, to say the least.
Fans, last call for alcohol sales.
And we just saw Adam Najem next to him, and he actually won the free kick. And interesting that Najem signed a 25-day contract on May 19th, which expires on June 11th, which is 3 days away. So shows you the pressure. A lot of people on the outside think that playing professional soccer is, just a fun thing you do, and it's always onwards and upwards. But you've got a limited time to prove to coaching staff you're worth keeping. If not, you're out there looking for another club. It's a precarious job at best.
Griffin Yao switches it to Green in space. And he lets it run by, took his eye off of it for just a moment.
I think he saw acres of space in front of himself and he got super excited. He was thinking, I'm going to knock this down the line, whip it in, and as you quite rightly say, just takes his eye off doing the very basic thing, which is first step, just controlling the ball. We've all done it. But, it's annoying when there's so much space there for him to have attacked.
Felipe. Inside to Raffanello. Felipe almost got there again on the ricochet. And it's out for a throw-in.
Tom Steeg, the man who gave away the penalty in the match against Charleston Battery in the 68th minute. Very lucky for him that Augie Williams missed the penalty. But again, hopefully he would have learned from that, sticking a foot out in the box. Just let the player go. Once they've got past you, don't try and hope you're going to get the ball. If you're not sure, keep your foot in and let your goalkeeper deal with it.
Williams. And the flag comes up on Levante Mullings. The USL is committed to supporting the LGBTQ plus community through the Forever Proud project. The USL strives to create safe and welcoming environments for all fans, players, employees, and partners. Learn more at uslsoccer.com/foreverproud.
The ball won't get in the right spot.
Raffanello. Nice move on the left side by Abukora to let it run by, but Cragwell recovers. Abukora slots it through to Yao. Yao looking for an option all the way over the top to Green. Jacob Green is taken down, and it's a throw-in coming the other way. Ryan Martin is beside himself in the technical area.
I think you can hear all sorts in the background that explain the annoyance. It did seem like there was a decent call for a foul there, but the ball knocked just too long over Green's head. Maybe that was the problem. Green was having to let it bounce and then chase it into the corner, and he had nowhere to go. Just that final ball into the box wasn't good enough by Loudoun.
Green, one of the bright young stars for this Loudoun team. The 15th homegrown signing in club history as they continue to recruit the area well from Crofton, Maryland, went to the local Key School, and now has gone through the academy and into Loudoun. One of the regulars for this team, 13th start this evening.
Yeah, and a goal scorer against New York Red Bulls when they won 3-0.
And now the recipient of a yellow, or is that one to Clark? They were both over there. I think it's to Clark.
He kicked our foot.
Now we're gone here at Seger Field. Tempers starting to flare, and it was to Jace Clark, that Seger yellow card.
A yellow card has been issued in the 60th minute to Loudoun United's number 32, Jace Clark.
It's for a raised foot. It wasn't raised very high. Let's have a look at it again as the ball comes. Watch now, the foot goes up. I think that was played for by Adam Najem.
And we will see Turkis into the match now for Murphy. Talking about him earlier, Gary, one of the young players who just got his first professional goal. There was a nice moment for Red Bulls, something they do whenever a player scores their first goal. They present him with an image of the moment in front of the team so they can all give him his proper applause. And now Turkis once again into the match.
And now entering the match, number 54.
I mean, it's so exciting to see these young players have the huge talent and the prospect of being top class players one day. And that first pro goal you mentioned was against Hartford in that 2-3 loss. Unfortunately for him, he wasn't able to pick up 3 points, but he certainly got the goal. And at 16 years of age, wow. Very early start. And again, not the only one. Sam Williams at 17, New York Red Bulls. And players on the bench, Eric Ruiz is 17, Ezra Whitman's 17. And if you go across to Loudoun United, they get even younger there. 2 of them are 15. Gavin Turner, who plays for the US under 15s.
Abukora.
Ref, open your eyes.
There's another 15-year-old on the bench for Loudoun, Matai Akimboni.
Here's Turkis. Felipe, great ball through to Raffanello. It runs a little bit too far. Can he recover? He's got options in the middle. Back toward Felipe. And out of play or a goal kick. So Abukora will exit the match as the lone goal scorer.
Again, younger players might not have the gas tank to keep going the full 90 minutes, but again, that moment of brilliance for the goal. No wonder he's getting applause from his teammates and from the crowd.
All subs brought to you by Segra. And also Abdul Zane into the match. Abdul Zane actually started that friendly last night for DC United. So not able to start tonight, but able to come in off the bench and give about a half an hour.
Now entering the match, number 7, Abdul Zane, and number 31, Matthias Johannes.
Here's Zane. Zane, he came in at the same interval that Abukora subbed out and tried to do the same thing, but didn't get that one more than a few inches off the ground. Pressure now from Loudoun. Raffanello looking for Adebayo Smith, couldn't quite get it there. Abdul Zane, there's a fun little story from Ryan Martin as we chatted about some of these young up-and-comers. He was most proud of what Zane has been able to do in such a short time, just moved halfway around the world from Ivory Coast. Besides what he's done on the field, remarked about how quickly he's picked up English, which is such an important thing. Obviously, out there as far as communicating with the other players, you always worry about and wonder how it might affect a young teenager coming over into the team. He said it's been remarkable how quickly he's picked it up and how he fits right into the group.
Yep, so important. Playing well is about settling in, feeling comfortable in your new surroundings, the players, the coach. It's important to speak the language. What I found interesting was that Ryan Martin actually went to the Ivory Coast back in November to go and scout players, and Abdul Zane, one of the players he brought back. So it's not like these coaches just sit around in their lounge looking at videotapes, or in modern times, you wouldn't look at a videotape, would you?
What is that,
What
Gary?
is that? Sorry, giving age away there. But, you know, scouting players on your PC as opposed to getting out there and watching them.
Even a PC is a little bit dated.
Jeez, I can't win here, can I?
Celebrating its 75th anniversary, Select is proud to be the official match ball supplier of the USL Championship. Choose that you play with at www.selectsportamerica.com. Select, League's Choice, Player's Choice. And that Select ball will be kicked all around the pitch as the USL Championship newcomers Monterey Bay FC welcomes Western Conference contender San Antonio FC to California. Don't miss a minute of the USL on ESPN as it continues Saturday, June 11th at 6 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Deportes.
Now just a big boot up the pitch, but it actually ends up winning Red Bulls a corner. Vom Steeg just knocking it out under pressure. Just shows you don't always have to play beautiful soccer to get a decent set piece.
Floated in. I think that came off of Johannes, actually, back toward his own goalkeeper. Jalen Robinson needs a moment. Jalen Robinson started his career in 2014 with DC United. Was a part of that organization from 2014 to 2019. And then last year, Bob Lilly brought him in with Pittsburgh. 18 appearances last season with the Riverhounds, and now one of those recent 30-day signings with Loudoun. So back to the organization where it all started for him. Ryan Martin still using this as an opportunity to get in the fourth official's ear about some of the calls he's been unhappy with tonight.
You're never going to have a match in which both managers are happy. If it's one or the other, and generally it's both. You know, but they're very passionate. They're not just doing it just for the sake of it, obviously. They're passionate about their players, both Ryan Martin and Gary Lewis. They're putting a lot of time on the training pitch. They get to know them off the pitch as well to make sure that they, as you say, teaching English if necessary.
Right.
You know, they're making sure that these players really have the best possible chance of being successful, because that's what these managers get measured on.
And successful in a number of ways. Again, with these two teams, not just the wins and losses, still stings to taste defeat, but there are other building blocks they're looking forward to. And one of the things that Gary Lewis brought up in our chat with him this week, 3 pillars, 3 individual game goals they look at each match, aside from, of course, trying to push for the victory. They want to win every game, wants that to be clear, but they do take some measure of small victory with certain things. They want to, A, defend the goal securely. They want to, B, have crisp build up through the lines. And C, they want to make sure they're hitting all of their pressing cues in this Red Bull pressing system. So those are 3 things they evaluate after each match, win, lose, or draw.
Just in the third one of those, the pressing structure, Gary Lewis saying to us, against San Diego, they got it wrong because they didn't press at the right times, they didn't press in the right numbers, and while the first half went very well, they were 2-0 up. He said they ran out of gas second half because you can't press all the time. You've got to pick and choose your times, and if you don't pick them right, then you overexert yourself first half, guess what? You're going to pay for it in the last 10 minutes.
And when they don't win, this Red Bull side, they don't take it lightly. He said he sees it in their faces in the locker room after some of these matches, or it stings, it hurts them. They want to be on the winning side. They know they're close, and they've been so close in so many of these matches, but the best thing, they're ready the next day. They stew about it in the aftermath of the match. They come back ready the next day. They want to watch the video, dissect the video, see which mistakes they made so they don't make those same mistakes again, knowing again there's a bigger picture at work here. And sure, you might have lost 3-2 on a goal you gave up in the 85th minute, but you did X, Y, and Z correctly. You just have to now correct A, B, and C and make sure you don't do those things again. So they're always eager to correct very quickly in the next day.
Well, they've got some matches coming up where they're going to be tested, Red Bulls. They've got FC Tulsa at home, and Tulsa need points desperately. El Paso away. Good luck with that. Pittsburgh at home, and then Lou City away. So there's going to be A, B, C, D, E, and F to talk about, I think, after those games.
Do we have enough letters? There might be plenty. Those are some of the top contenders in the league all across the board. But on the counter side of that, all of a sudden you go through that rough stretch and you pluck a victory or even a draw in some of those matches. Those are things to build on that give you that confidence going forward. All of a sudden they go ahead, for example, and beat a Louisville team that has struggled of late, actually. Now you're looking around the locker room and saying, oh, why can't we go on a little bit of a run here? We might not end up above the playoff line, but there's still plenty to salvage from the season.
Well, let's go back to Red Bull's last match, a 2-2 draw against San Diego Loyal, who are one of the top sides in the West, and they were 2-0 up at one stage. So, but it's important that they have 1 or 2 of their senior players back, Red Bulls and Loudoun, when they play these matches, because if you just put out a whole bunch of youngsters, then it's very difficult.
For all the opportunities they had in the first half, New York, 2 shots, none on target in the second half so far. But their defending has been crisp. 0 shots on the other side for Loudoun.
Yeah, the expected goals hasn't really changed. It hasn't changed for Loudoun, and it's changed just very marginally for New York Red Bulls too. And maybe again, that was the conversation at halftime. Both coaches saying there's been a ton of chances, way too many, tighten up in defense. I think we picked it out first half, how porous, especially Loudoun, were at the back with the single ball through to Adebayo Smith on about 4 occasions, exposing them. Well, we haven't seen that in the second half. So credit to coach and players for plugging that gap on the one side, and for Red Bulls likewise. They were beaten with, you know, space behind their fullbacks, and those spaces haven't appeared so much in the second half.
We've talked throughout the evening, especially early on, about the fact that goals are typically scored in bunches when these teams meet. 5 of the last 6 have seen at least one of the 2 sides score 3 or more. Gary, in the history of this rivalry, this is the 10th meeting, split right down the middle, 4-4 and 1 draw. There has never been a match in which only 1 goal has been scored. The fewest goals in a match between these sides is 3. It was a 2-1 Loudoun win all the way back in 2020. So there's never been a match between these teams where you had less than 3 goals. And here we are at 1-0.
And it's getting chippier by the moment, because I think that 4-4-1, it's all balanced, it's all even. Both these teams see each other as rivals on the same level, and they both desperately want to win it. And it's got a second half definitely got a little bit chippy, a lot of tackles flying in, and tempers beginning to flare. But if 3 is the lowest they've ever scored in a game between them, then 1 is looking decidedly boring in comparison. But I think there's more goals to come here.
Perhaps now. Downs. Not now. Loudoun has a 3-0 win. New York has a 3-0 win. And both sides have a 2-1 win. Outside of that, every other match has had 4 or more. There's been a 7-3 Loudoun win, a 3-2 New York win, a 3-3 draw, a 4-1 New York win. Goals are typically not hard to come by when these teams play, but a different story tonight.
I think obviously that the place in which they struggle most are goals conceded. They're right up there amongst the worst in the league. Not the absolute worst, that's Atlanta United 2. They've got 33 conceded, Red Bulls 24, Loudoun 22. Even Charleston Battery are worse off at 27. But they're certainly in the bottom 4 or 5, these two teams, for goals conceded.
Something may be on here now for Loudoun. Up the left side with speed. Zane cuts it back behind Yao for Downs. Punched aside by Nico Politis. Still in play. Back for Downs. Top of the area for a blast. That's over the stands, but a free kick called at the very end of that. From behind, Ilya Turkis.
A good save from the goalkeeper, Nicopolidis, once again. He's very agile, quick to get across and make the save. It's a good strike as well. Nice build-up on the left-hand side. I'm looking for the ball closer in there to Griffin Yao, but it gets pulled further back. Edge of the box. Great strike. Watch the goalkeeper, gets across, pushes it away. Could have pushed it out there into the danger area where Jacob Green was, but he doesn't. He pushes it away for a corner. That's a decent strike from Nicky Downs.
Ilya Turkis picked up a Segra yellow card in the aftermath there. Quarter of an hour remaining. With Gary Bailey, I'm Joe Malfa. Glad to have had you with us tonight on ESPN Plus. A match that was delayed an hour, but Mother Nature has held off for the rest of the evening. And we've only got 15 more to play. Loudoun with a 1-0 victory. That came on a beautiful chip by Abukora back in the 38th minute. And now a chance to go up by 2 on this dead ball opportunity. It'll be Griffin Yao to strike it. Griffin Yao punched away by Nico Politis. That's 2 sprawling saves in the last minute to keep it a 1-goal game.
That's another fantastic save from Nico Politis. There's no question that he's a very, very agile goalkeeper. Wonderful to watch from those sort of saves. I guess we go back to the goal conceded. That's a part of his game he's got to tidy up. And as I said, not take the risks. You don't need to. You're a goalkeeper. You're not there to take risks. You're there to actually limit them.
And don't forget the second goal that should have been conceded, that he was bailed out by the assistant referee.
Absolutely, but in between that, some wonderful saves.
But how about the strike from Griffin Yao? Typically, you'll see a free kick like that where the ball is so close to the 18-yard line where it's tough to get it over the wall and back down again, and he did.
He did. Wasn't in the corner. If you were to criticize, you'd say it's a little bit too close to the keeper. If you could have bent that away a little bit, but still, I'm not going to be, it's still a very good free kick. It's just not the perfect one. Another yellow card.
Raffanello, Segra yellow card.
I think that's 4 as I make it for New York Red Bulls 2. You've got to be careful now because there've been red cards in this match before for New York Red Bulls 2. And the last one when they lost 3-0. They don't want another one here.
Green. That's out for a goal kick. Ofori, Williams, Raffanello, all in the book.
And Turkis.
And Turkis. Those are your 4. On the other side, only Jace Clark has one on the field for Loudoun. Liati received one earlier, but has since been subbed out. Here's Ofori. New York has struggled, of course, conceding the late goals this season. Can they find one of their own? And it's a Loudoun team that has also struggled conceding the late goals this season, namely that last match against Charleston to Kuzminski, the goalkeeper, in the last moment of stoppage time. So just because this game has been 1-0 through nearly 80 minutes doesn't mean it's going to finish like that if history is any indication for both of these teams this season.
Yep, absolutely. And both managers have been talking to their players about when you're in the lead, you've got to try and hold on to it.
Felipe.
And they were saying you've got to hold on to it by just managing the game. So the question now, with Loudoun leading, what Ryan Martin will be looking at is how do you manage the last 10 minutes? In-game management they talk about, slowing the clock down, all the tricks of the trade. That's what you have to do as a professional in the final 10 minutes, which we're almost at.
Have to be careful not to concede penalties as well. That's something that happened in that game against Charleston, but Augie Williams missed it. He noted, Ryan Martin, there were a few opportunities that he could point to where he thought his players should have dribbled to the corner in the final few moments of the match to kill as much time as they could, and they just didn't. So you talk about, for these young teams, it's okay to make that mistake once, but not do it again. So right away, next match here for Loudoun, can they refrain from that same mistake? Can they make the veteran play, go to the corner, master the dark arts a little bit if need be, and go down? It's a part of the game that we don't love, but it's a part of the game. So.
Yeah, well, the dark arts, maybe they should watch Harry Potter movies before they play, because it is part of what you have to do. And, you know, if you go and play your football in South America, down in Argentina, Brazil, you'll learn very quickly about how to hold on to a lead. You know, sometimes I've heard coaches say that in America, we can be too nice about playing football. The rest of the world, they're not nice. It's a must-win at all costs attitude.
Another change on the way for this Red Bulls side. Danny De Leon into the match, and that'll be it for Christopher Cragwell.
New York Red Bulls 2 substitution in the 81st minute. Now exiting the match, number 32, Christopher Cragwell.
De Leon makes his 7th appearance on the season.
Daniel De Leon. All substitutions are brought to you by
And a corner on the way now for the visiting side.
Samudio just pointing there, instructing his players where he wants them. The referee, it happens at almost every corner, pushing, shoving, holding. Referee comes in, gives a warning. You're talking about the dark arts. That's where most of the dark arts take place.
Similar delivery to the one that didn't count. Ofori keeps it alive, wants it back, gets it back from Felipe, squares it centrally, but nobody there wearing the Red Bulls colors. Clark stays on side. Jace Clark with some help. That last step, he overran the ball when he had Yao coming centrally.
Other thing he did was he waited to be told to play on. I mean, you know, when the ball comes, keep playing and wait for them to say stop. Jace Clark looked at the assistant. The assistant said, look on the far side. He's playing you on. And then he went, okay, cool, I'll attack. You've just got to go. He lost himself a valuable yard there, Jace Clark.
Can Loudoun find the insurance goal that never came against Charleston in that last 1-1 draw? Yao. Blocked by Mullings. Waited a bit too long there on the left side. Alex Dexter.
This is important where you say being switched on for Loudoun, everybody watching their markers and their runners. And just let the ball go over and take your time, which I'm sure the goalkeeper will do now, Luis Zamudio. It's that jog, that's that very slow jog, which is slower than if you were to walk, but you still seem to be jogging.
It looks like you're doing more.
Yes, yeah.
It's all deception. Your upper body is moving very quickly, while your lower body is still moving barely in quickslant at a glacial pace.
Yeah, well, that's what you got to do. Starts on one side of the goal, moves the ball to the other. But at some point you have to know that you can't keep, you got to get rid of it before the referee has had enough and books you.
The booking aspect of that play always gets me. Referees have wisened up where they'll just issue the yellow card from midfield, but so often you'll see the referee jog 40 yards, give the yellow, and then jog back, and now we've killed another 45 seconds.
Go, Loudoun!
Yao. Here's Green.
You need help, you need help.
There's a case of taking it to the corner. It's exactly what Ryan Martin wants to see. Seemingly, at least early returns indicate that lesson learned from the last match.
Good. That's exactly the way to do it. Back to the goalkeeper, switch it the other side, move it around. There you go. Unfortunately, possession lost in a dangerous area now.
Felipe goes down. Campbell won it cleanly.
Looked like a foul, I would have thought, but not given. As much as you talk about what Loudoun must do in terms of holding on to the lead, of course, from a Red Bulls perspective, it's how do you get at them, where are their weaknesses, which players are tired, which players do you think maybe are more vulnerable at this stage of the game.
Griffin Yao looks like he could go another 80 minutes. He has been, for my estimation, the best player on the field tonight. You could tell that that's a player who has almost 40 games at the MLS level, only making his third appearance in the last year and a half for Loudoun. Still just 19 years of age.
Hold.
Well, one of the players you mentioned earlier in the evening, one of their brightest young academy prospects, Gavin Turner, is about to enter the match for Loudoun. He just turned 15 years old in January. Well, they'll hold on for now. They were ready to bring him in, and they changed their mind.
That's incredible, 15 years of age. He's a US under-15 international. But wow, to bring him into a game against players in their mid-20s, and it's a very, very quick way to learn if you're a 15-year-old.
And again, just turned 15 in January. Wow. He's a young 15 at that.
Wow. You've got Jalen Robinson there at 30 years of age. He's twice as old as him. Back that ages Jalen Robinson when he's sitting in the locker room.
I don't think Gavin Turner, you mentioned it earlier, the Harry Potter movies, don't know if he was alive when the last couple of those came out.
Wow.
Quick throw into Yao.
Working hard, Griffin Yao doing what he has to do to try and slow that process down, make New York Red Bulls go the long way round.
Adebayo Smith has had a quiet second half, but if he could change that here, it would mean a lot for New York. Ball whipped in. Zamudio has it.
It's much, much better from the visiting side. Jonathan Felipe was at the far post just waiting to get that ball. Didn't quite get through to him, but the idea was good. As you quite rightly said, we haven't seen much of Adebayo Smith, which means he's not getting the service he was first half. It's not like we've seen him get the ball and lose it because he's been marked tightly. He just hasn't had any decent service.
Alex Dexter. Some contact there with Mullings, but not enough to dictate a foul call. They've got 7 up on the board for Zane. He just came into the match. Interesting.
I don't know if he picked up a knock, maybe.
Well, remember, he did start that match last night, that friendly for DC United. But I guess the question is, if you knew he couldn't go that long, then why bring him in as early as you did at about the hour mark? Why not save him for later?
Now exiting the match, number 7.
When you assume he thought he was going to be okay, he's come on and he's just felt something and asked to go off.
I hope he's all right. Here comes Gavin Turner.
Brought to you by Segra.
Subs brought to you by Segra.
Well, if they win this, Loudoun, they will end the match with a 15-year-old, a 16-year-old, an 18-year-old, and a 19-year-old. Not bad from a development point of view.
You know, I sort of said that half-jokingly about Turner not being alive when that last Harry Potter movie came out, to your point from earlier in the evening. That movie came out in 2011. He's a 2007 birth, so he was 4 when the last Harry Potter movie came out. Yao calling for it. Yao gets it. Tried to center it back for Turner and just left it short.
The idea was great from Yao, and wouldn't it have been unbelievable if that ball had got to Gavin Turner, because it would have been a tap in the back of the net for the 15-year-old. And Griffin Yao just not able to get it to him. It's a positive play from Loudoun that at 1-0 up in the dying moments is still able to create something at the other end.
4 minutes of added time. Adebayo Smith earns a corner. Remember how it worked out against Charleston. Goalkeeper up in stoppage time off a set piece. Loudoun caught napping, and they paid for it. Raffanello on the service, and he'll repeat it.
Good header clear from Jalen Robinson, and it was his own player that he bumped into and hit the deck very, very hard.
Second opportunity, still loose in the box. It sent goalward, blocked. Might have been Turner actually who got in the way of that.
Sam Williams with the shot there, not the best punch from the goalkeeper. Zamudio doesn't clear his lines.
And Nico Politis over the halfway line gets it right back into the area. And now Zamudio has it.
There, Zamudio can just calm everything down, but this is a matter of learning for Zamudio. You've got to punch it well clear. He dropped it near the penalty spot, and that got knocked back, and but for a block, could easily have ended up in the back of the net. That's the managing of opportunities in the last few minutes that needs to be improved. I was having a look at the table. If this result stands, and we're only just over 2 minutes away from it, Loudoun move into 10th place. They're ahead of Hartford, Atlanta 2, Red Bulls 2, and Charleston Battery. I think, if I remember correctly, last year they finished stone cold bottom of the Eastern Division. So if Loudoun can improve from being bottom to being 5th from bottom, and being ahead of teams like Charleston Battery and Hartford Athletic, then it's a decent season so far.
A game in hand on Tulsa, only 3 points back. A game in hand on Birmingham, 9 points back. It's a team that when the season started, they were eyeing the playoff line. That's what Ryan Martin's goal was, and he believed they could actually do it with the signings they made. The managerial switch for DC United has changed things a bit because new regime, they want to look at some of these players that were brought in, and they haven't been in the games with Loudoun. They've been with DC United instead. But all of a sudden, things change. Some of those players start coming back into the fold. You never know. Fortunate for Loudoun, the Eastern Conference 7th place at least is still within reach. Currently occupied by Indy 11 on 20 points.
It would be a bit of a stretch. They'd have to put a really good run together to do it. The sort of run that they started the season with.
Exactly, and if it were the other way around when we were talking about Red Bulls in that scenario, I don't know we would talk about it the same way because they clearly are about that development. Loudoun entered this season with the playoffs in mind. That one goes wide, so it's doable for them. This was their goal coming into the season, but it's all contingent on who's available based on the DC United decisions.
Mudio doing his slow, quick-looking jog.
Find the proper piece of turf to put the ball on.
Which, of course, if you're 1-0 down, you put it down and whack us down the pitch. So but that's what you have to do to be a professional, and well done. Decent kick.
Mullings. Maybe one last charge for the Red Bulls. Played centrally toward Raffaello all the way through. Felipe looking to keep it alive. Loudoun hoping to avoid what happened last match against Charleston. Right around this juncture is when they scored to tie at 1-1.
All right, guys, got about a minute left. He's down for a minute, so we're playing a
See the tension on Ryan Martin. Got his team so close to picking up 3 points and a much-needed win.
Long toss into the area. Felipe again trying to keep it alive. Nico Politis into the picture. Mullings turns, plays it centrally. Zamudio is there, and that should do it.
A little flurry of activity for New York Red Bulls towards the end of this half, but to be fair, all the chances came in the first half, and they weren't taken, and they have paid the price.
There's the final whistle, a hard-earned 1-0 victory for Loudoun. For the first ever time between these teams, we had fewer than 3 goals scored. The exact opposite of what we're used to when these teams meet. Ryan Martin breathes a sigh of relief, and he's got Loudoun back on track. They started the season unbeaten in the first 3 games with 2 wins and a draw. They haven't won since, and that is no longer the case because of that man, Abukora, scoring a brilliant chip back in the 38th minute, and it is your Segra play of the game. Started here at the back, and all he needed was 1 touch.
Oh, it's a beautiful ball from Lillard, and he lets it run, and he sees the goalkeeper way off his line and thinks, well, I can do this, and he gets it spot on. Brilliant chip. Got to ask questions about Nicopolidis being that far off his line and making up his mind, but no, the execution from Abukora, fantastic.
Well, we detailed it in the second half. Never when these teams have met has there been a match where you had fewer than 3 goals. Tonight was the night, and it was a 1-0 win. You can see what it means to the boys for Loudoun. A big 3 points against New York Red Bulls 2. And we will be back in a moment to wrap this one up from Segra Field. Loudoun players taking a victory lap around the field, greeting the fans who stuck out the elements. We were delayed by an hour tonight. It was well worth the wait for the home side and their fans, picking up their first win since the early stages of the season. We take one final look at tonight's highlights.
Yep, early on, New York Red Bulls had a few chances, but first up it was Griffin Yao out on the side here. No, it's not Griffin Yao. This is the counter-attack move for Adebayo Smith. And the number of times in the first half Adebayo Smith had chances and gets a shot on goal. Decent save from Smudia, tips it over the crossbar. And he had 3 or 4 chances, Adebayo Smith, which, given the lack of chances second half, you look back and think maybe he should have taken them.
And here you have the goal.
Yes, this is Lillard from out from the back. What a beautiful pass. This is right into the path of Abukara. Sees Nicopolides way off his line, which the more you see it, the more you think to the goalkeeper, why are you that far off your line? You don't need to be. And the keeper can't even make an attempt because it's just this, it's well over his head in the back of the net. But what a good finish from that young man.
He made so many other stops the rest of the match, Nicopolides, to keep his team in it, but unfortunately the 10 men in front of him were unable to reward him for correcting his own earlier error.
Yep, he did make some good saves. This is the one from the edge of the box. Downs hits it, another good save. I would expect him to make those saves, but nonetheless, they're decent saves. Good strike from Downs. Goalkeeper does that, and he made another one a minute or so later. Let's have a look. This one from Griffin Yao. No, this is the one over the top that didn't need a save. This is the one, sorry, from Griffin Yao. Over the wall, and again, another good save from Nicopolides.
It stayed 1-0. And Loudoun earned the 3 points. Red Bulls had a number of shots, but you see the disparity there between shots and shots on target. They weren't really efficient in their chance creation tonight.
They weren't. You've got to hit target, although expected goals is just over 1 for Red Bulls, so they should have scored at some stage. Only 0.56 for Loudoun, so credit them with taking the goals so well that they did take. If you look at it as a match of 2 halves, Red Bulls had by far the better of the first half. Loudoun looks solid second half, and yet, having said that, besides the goal, there was nearly a second one for Loudoun that the assistant ref didn't give. So in the end of the day, probably the right result on balance.
Well, on the horizon, Loudoun has another match against an MLS 2 side against Atlanta on the weekend, while Red Bulls will wait a week and host FC Tulsa to try and get back on track. That'll do it for us tonight from Segra Field. The final score brought to you by Segra. Loudoun 1, New York 0. From my broadcast partner Gary Bailey and the crew that makes this possible, I'm Joe Malfa saying good night from Leesburg, Virginia. A 1-0 win for the home side to get back on track.
This copyrighted telecast of the United Soccer League Championship cannot be retransmitted, rebroadcast, or reproduced without the expressed written consent of the United Soccer League Championship.